The left sneered at dudes being dudes, labeling toughness as toxic masculinity. But after Trump's victory, the culture shifted. And now UFC boss Dana White's throwing punches back, defending his sport's unapologetically masculine edge.
You once used a term with me that I quoted you on, the wussification of America.
I think I said but yeah, I get it. We're on 60 Minutes, yeah.
Has the pendulum swung the other way?
I feel like it's starting to. We are definitely unapologetically masculine.
Can this bubble over to too much? When you hear toxic masculinity,
What's that mean?
you tell me.
No,
When
you
hear
just said it. What's the definition of toxic? How can somebody be too masculine? Is that a possibility? Can you be too masculine?
You tell me.
No.
You think so?
The answer is hell no.
Dana, you were making a lot of noises during that interview.
Well, I just think if you're a journalist and you bring up something like, what about toxic masculinity? And he says, what's that mean? And you say, you tell me. That is not a journalistic question. And I really like 60 Minutes as a program. And CBS Sunday Morning, all of those programs I think are great. But I think some of these questions have become so mealy-mouthed. And they're afraid to say what they think it means. He doesn't want to say what it means. He couldn't even say, well, let me tell you what it says in the dictionary. Let me quote somebody for you. He doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to even quote Gillette. Remember, Gillette's the one who did a whole ad about toxic masculinity, and never a Gillette razor has seen our house again. So here's the thing on UFC. I've tried to watch. I can't watch people hit it. I can't.
It's not for you, Dana.
I can't do it. But I love that people love it. And I think it's great that there's this outlet and that there's so much it has so much popularity. A really good friend of mine from Serbia sent me a note last week. He said, is this real? He thought the UFC fight on the White House lawn was a joke. I'm like, no, it's real. And now he thinks America's amazing.
You're definitely going to be there, aren't you?
100%. 100%. I'm trying to fight.
I'm trying to fight.
I'd love to. By the way, did you know we had the same trainer at one time?
Oh, that jiu-jitsu guy?
Yeah. Actually,
love him.
My professor was your professor's professor.
That's amazing.
You not professored him?
Isn't it
Yeah, it's not a sensei like other in jiu-jitsu. I didn't like the question.
Yeah.
The question was old. Once you're on Fox, you realize how bad other people at other networks are. I mean, it's like, that's why no one is watching, because this has already been litigated. This is so 2016. Men have taken their place back in society. You don't ask a question that has already been proven to be true. Right. It's no longer toxic anymore. It is what's in. That should have been the question. How's it in? How do we relate more to the young men out there? Not the toxic question. We don't even use that word anymore.
Emily, can men be toxic? Like, can our masculinity be toxic?
I mean, you're asking the wrong person, because I think the answer is no. But here's the thing. All right, I love UFC. I love boxing. Like, I'm Team Crawford all the way. I'm one of the few that over here that stayed up to like 2 to watch that match the other day. Whatever. I've made no secret that I want to be at that UFC match at the White House. Here's my point. That this is what happens when you channel what is an innate, aggression, assertiveness, confidence in young men into the right way. And it's ironic to me that for all of those saying that masculinity is somehow toxic, what do you think the aggression on the streets is? Like, when you channel it, when you harness it, when you discipline it, that's UFC's rise. That's what this arena base is. And there's no such thing as toxic, in a hard punch or a great throw. There's no such thing whatsoever about that. That's discipline, that's athleticism, and that's sport. And so I think the labeling it toxic and that toughness, it ignores the controlled toughness about it. And I think if you talk to any boxing coach in the inner cities in the 80s and the 90s, that they'll tell you they will know exactly what you're talking about, and that there was a lot of exit and a lot of discipline that was fostered in a lot of youth that otherwise might go the wrong way. And to this point about toxicity, and the politicians wringing their hands over wussification, like Dana White building this global fan base into something positive, that is not toxic, that is timeless.
Jessica, why don't Democrats, politicians, go to UFC fights?
They'll be booed.
I'm sure some. Oh, Jared Moskowitz.
He does?
Did. I think he went to something in Florida.
Good.
I'm sure some do.
Yeah.
I think that maybe I just prepped too much, or I didn't know that he actually didn't have the answer, but I went and looked up toxic masculinity in preparation for the segment to make sure I knew what it was.
And it revolves around the expectation that men should be aggressive, emotionally detached, and avoid being vulnerable. And I don't think that that's all men by any stretch of the imagination. At UFC, I'm like Dana, I'm not a big, punching when there's blood and stuff, but I think that people in their head have like Conor McGregor in their mind when they're thinking about someone who's toxically masculine.
Why? What about Conor McGregor?
He's not
What
toxic.
about him?
Didn't he
He's amazing, and that he's awesome. I will say
Didn't
this too.
he-
I take issue with that definition.
Sexually assault?
Biblical definition of masculinity is love for your Lord and Savior, love for your wife.
Well, that's
it's being
not
the head of
what
your household. But my
most
point
of
is
these fighters
that's why
are.
it's such a. But that's why it's such a farce. No, we don't know there.
But imagine if who's out there asking about toxic femininity?
No one.
Yeah.
Well,
Imagine,
right.
Jesse, imagine if you asked somebody, they said, what about how toxic women are? And she doesn't want to answer. Like, you tell me.
Yeah, fire me, Dana. Fire me. And do you ask that question to the head of the UFC? Do you ask him about toxic masculinity? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
there was something which I would actually love to get your take on. Remember that poll that we talked about Gen Z men, like the Trump voting Gen Z men who
Yes.
all wanted to have babies? That was their number one indicator of success.
Yeah.
The least important indicator they thought was being emotionally stable. And I don't think that you should have kids unless you are emotionally stable. You're a very emotionally stable man. You have children, don't you think?
know,
it's
I don't-
I can
important
also make the
to have all of
argument
those
that the kids
things?
change men as well. So
And they change
it doesn't
women,
mean-
and they change women psychologically.
better.
That's been proven. And everybody
about
needs to
brain
know.
fog?
Everybody needs to know that Lawrence wants to fight anybody. It doesn't matter who it is.
100%.
July 4th at the White House. Come one, come all. He's been training. Up next, Kill Me. We're not talking about you. The left honors a dead cop killer. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.